We are live. We are live. Hi, Bintu. Hi, Joe. First and second, second and first, but nobody's a winner. We're all winners. Good morning, good afternoon, good morning. Hello. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today. Bintu just said to me, "How are you, Maria?" I'm great. I'm great today. You know why? Because I get to talk to one of my favorite people on the planet, one of my besties on the planet, Hoda Kotb. Look at her new book. Her new book is here. It's out. It's a bestseller. It's an instant bestseller. Not because it's so beautiful. Look how beautiful it is on the outside, and look how beautiful it is on the inside. I'm one of those people that take off the covers and then put them out. Look how beautiful this is. This is Hoda's new book, her like 10th jillionth book. And it says, "This just speaks to me." And the thing about Hoda is she always speaks to me. She's one of my all-time favorite people. And she just speaks to me. And I know everybody feels the same as me about her. She's everybody's bestie. But I love how this looks. I love the picture on the back. So I really hope that you'll buy it. I hope you'll support it because it's a great gift book. It's one of those, I'm just going to go buy like 20 and I'm going to bring it with me everywhere I go. And since I'm not going anywhere, I'm just going to have all 20 in bags around me to remind me to go somewhere because this is a perfect hostess gift. I'm going to give it to my kids. Oh, Hoda's saying, "Can I join?" No, you can't join, Hoda. You can't come. You can't come onto our chat. You can't. Hoda and I used to see each other all the time. So we were in New York, and now we do see. There you are.
That's hilarious. Look at me. I'm trying to get on your IG. I'm like, "Can I join?" Clickety clack.
Yeah, she's like, "Can I join?" No, you can't join. We're just going to talk about you without you. So I was talking all about your beautiful book.
Oh, thank you, Maria.
I was saying how beautiful it is here and how beautiful it is here.
Right? Just take the
Right.
cover off. I kind of take them off.
I take them off too.
You
We
do?
take them off in our house, and look at that, and look how beautiful it is. Sometimes people don't know that a lot goes into making the inside beautiful as well as the outside. And so Hoda made the inside, and she made the inside in the inside, absolutely beautiful. So tell me, my dear friend, why did you want to do this? Because the first one was such a success.
Yeah.
I really needed this. Did people just say, "We want more, we want more, we want more"?
You know what's funny? I'd go to book signings and people would stop me and go, "I got one. I got a quote for you. Are you ready?" You know, and they would give me like their grandmother's favorite quote or someone's quote. And I realized just how personal, like people love their quotes and they wanted to tell you the story, like why it moved them. And I think what was cool about them was for a lot of people, it wasn't just a quote. It was a quote that turned into like action.
Yeah.
They were like, "I read this and then I did that," or I saw this and it moved me, so I changed this. And I think that's the cool thing about like, you know, a string of words that's like 5 or 6 words strung together. And all of a sudden you're like, I'm going to make a U-turn in my life. And I just thought it was cool that people did that.
Yeah, but it's what you do is you have the quote and then you have your take really on the quote and you have your thoughts and you talk about your life turning a corner or conversations you've heard or things you've done. So was it like, did you want to just find the quote and then write, or how'd you go about doing that?
Okay, well, I'll give you 2 examples. You happen to be in both of them, and they happen to happen in our makeup room.
I know, I miss our makeup room.
I miss it too.
I used to go to New York before COVID. I was going to New York almost every week. Yeah. And some of the greatest moments of my life were spent in the makeup room with Hoda, as I said, one of my besties of all time, and Mary, right?
Yes.
And then we'll be sitting there talking to the makeup people, and then everybody would just kind of come in, right?
Well, 2 people, and what's funny is I never asked Dylan or Chanel if I could print the story that I did. I just did it. And I forgot about it because the pandemic, and I was like, oh shoot, I never asked them. So literally I was on the 9 o'clock hour and they said, "We're gonna pull a quote that you used for Dylan and for Chanel." And I was kind of like, uh-oh, yikes. And both of them involved you. One of them, Dylan was in the makeup room and she said, "You know, Calvin is shy," her 3-year-old. "And I'm shy. So, you know, Calvin's shy and we're just shy." And I remember you were like this, "Why'd you say that?" And she goes, well, because I've been shy and I can see it in Calvin. And you're like, no, 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 you're just labeling Calvin shy now. Now Calvin will become what you keep telling him he is. Dylan told me that that conversation with you changed how she spoke to her son. She no longer says, oh, my son is shy. She says, I don't do it anymore. And she goes, I don't actually even say that about myself anymore. And she had been saying it nonstop. Like, it changed the conversation. The other one was Chanel, who was working 6 days a week, dragged herself into that makeup room. And I remember you asked her just a regular question. You looked at her and you said, how are you doing? But you meant it. And she said, I'm tired. And you said, why? And she said, well, I work 6 days a week. And you said, well, why? And you said, well, she said, well, I've got a job that's 5 days a week. And then I have my own show, the Saturday show. And she goes, and you said, well, why are you doing the Saturday? She's like, well, because it has my name on it. And you were like, but do you like it? You just kept asking basic questions. And literally, when you were done with her, she quit the Weekend Today show. She did. She quit. And she skips around and she spends time with her kids.
Yeah.
It's amazing. But that's what I'm saying, like that, those moments happened. I knew the story. Then I tried to find the quote that matched it because the story was so good that there has to be something.
That's so sweet. I remember both of those
Yeah.
instances. And I remember another incident which involved you, and I want to mention it because Hoda was down on the Today Show set, and Indra Menzel came on the show, and she was singing, and she sang this song at this table. And Hoda mentioned it to me, but of course I was busy and up in the makeup room. And then she came running up and said, did you see my text? Did you see my text? I said, no, I didn't see your text. And she said, and she played the song at this table. And she said, this reminds me of you. And tears, I've listened to it all the time. And it just shows, I think, what you're saying, that these small gestures or these conversations or these moments in our lives that we sometimes think about as mundane or small turn out to be the biggest moments of our life.
And do you remember what you said after that? After we had the conversation about at this table, I remember the next day you came to me and you said, I need to say something to you because I don't know if I said it. And I said, well, what is that? And you said, I actually listened to that song and I heard what you said. And you sort of laid it out that you really took it in. Like usually you're a deflector, you know, yeah, but hey, great, but here's something about you. You know how you do that. Yeah. No, Becky, you. And that struck me. And then in that same vein, there was a young girl who worked at NBC named Bridget. And I was complimenting her on something. And when I was done, I was noticing, is she feeling awkward? Maybe, you know, people don't like compliments. And she looked at me and she goes, I received that. And I said, what did you say? She said, my pastor said that when someone pays me a compliment, I should receive it. Like, don't make the other person feel bad by saying, no, it's, my hair looks terrible. I haven't washed it in 3 days. Or this old shirt, it has a stain on it. Why do you like it? You know, and all of a sudden it hit me. And she was so calm when she said, I received that. And I thought about that when you were saying that to me in the hallway. It was like, all of a sudden it was.
I received. And that's what I think. I actually think that's what this book does for people, is that you can read it and you can read the quote and then you can read Hoda's writing here and you can receive it. And it can change, you know, how we think about our days, how we think about people in our lives, how we think about what is important in our lives. And but it's more than just kind of feel good, right? This is deep. Yeah. I think it's deep.
Yeah, it has. I think what I found, at least from listening to people, is when they go through the real shit, I mean, when they're really on their knees and things are bad, like that's when the world comes out. And I was doing this interview a couple of days ago, Maria, with this guy, and he said to me, so you had a first husband? And I said, yeah. And he said, you know, now you have children with your fiance. I said, yeah. And he said, do you think had you stayed with that first husband, you would have had children? And I was thinking about it because I think I probably wouldn't have wanted to, just given who he was. And this is like my life when I thought it was really terrible, when I went through a divorce and had a a cancer diagnosis and things, like in that moment when you're like, nothing could be worse than this. And then all of a sudden, when he asked me that question, I was like, wow, after all that crummy stuff, I realized like I was meant to have kids with Joel. Like this was the way it was
Yeah.
supposed to work out. But I think the book is sort of filled with those moments where you're like, how could it get worse than this? Like that's when you think it's game over. And then through all that junk, your world gets clear. You're like, oh, okay, I actually don't like you. I actually was sick and I realized my life had margins, so I'm not going to do that thing that I would have done. And
Yeah.
I'm going to be choosier with who I pick. But I think a lot of people in that book have gone through stuff and came out and made better choices after that.
I think that's so important because I think we're raised to not really talk about going through stuff. And so
Yeah.
people always think that when they're going through stuff, like I'm alone, I won't make it, how do I do it? And that's why a book like this is so powerful, because it reminds you that people go through stuff and they come out better. They
Yeah.
go through stuff and they come out awake. They go through stuff and they're transformed into who they're actually meant to be.
Yes. And you know what's funny? I remember after I was sick with cancer, I remember thinking I'm not going to speak of it because I didn't want to be that girl. And I remembered making a conscious decision. Surgery's over, all the post treatments are over, I had reconstruction. That's it, not discussing. And I remember I was going through my life that way. And I'll never forget, I went on a work trip and it was shortly after the surgery, and I was not ready to fly, but I wanted to do something other than sit in my house. And this guy was sitting next to me, and I was so tired and sort of started talking to me, and he said, "Why do you have this compression sleeve on your arm?" And I said, "Oh, I just wear it because I had an operation." He said, "Well, what operation?" I said, "Well, I had a procedure, and so I'm wearing it." He goes, "Well, what procedure?" I go, "Okay." I said, "Okay, I'll give." I said, I have breast cancer. I said, "But I hope when you get off the plane, that's not the first thing you think. Like you sat next to this girl with breast cancer." And he goes, "What's wrong with you?" I go, "What?" He said, "What's wrong with you?" He said, "Breast cancer is part of you. It's like going to college or getting married or working at NBC." He said, "Let me give you some advice and you can go to sleep." And I said, "Okay." And he said, "Are you ready?" And I said, "I'm ready." And he said, "Don't hog your journey. It's not just for you." He said, "Think of how many people you could have helped on the plane ride home." He said, "You can put your stuff deep in your pockets and take it to your grave, or you can help somebody." And literally this stranger, who I almost blocked out because I wasn't in the mood, changed what I did from that day forward. And I
Wow.
thought about that, like, it's easy to put stuff in your pockets and power through, but it's harder not to. And he taught me a lesson, and I never forgot it.
That is so, this just speaks to me. So sharing your story speaks to somebody else, and that you find connection when you share your stories, right? And
Yes.
in a way, when we go into journalism, we're not supposed to share our stories. We're supposed to share the stories of those
Yes.
we're covering. And yet, in sharing your story, you make connection with your audience, don't you feel?
Yes, and I also think you understand the pain better. Like you can interview someone who's been through something and not really understand that pain. You can try, but I think if you've walked in their shoes in some way, you are better at your job. I remember when I covered Hurricane Katrina, which was in New Orleans, which is my city. I feel like it's the city that has a heartbeat and it's got a soul and it's living and breathing, and it always, like when I left New Orleans, I'd worked there for years. Whenever I would return on the flight in, my heart would pound like I was seeing a boyfriend. Like I loved it that much. I was like, oh my God, I could feel like getting sweaty. I loved the city so much. And when Hurricane Katrina hit, I remember I went to cover it and I was standing on the I-10, the highway, and I saw a school principal at Bonneville Junior High because I had spoken at her kid's school, and there she stood. And I saw a guy who worked at Circle Food, and I bought my sandwiches from Circle Food, and I knew him. And there he stood in his bare feet with a plastic bag with everything he had. They were just lined up. People were lined up like cordwood on the highway, waiting for someone to take them away and save them. And when I covered that story, it hit me so profoundly that I realized I should be covering other stories like they're my town, because I know what that feels like. And I had covered the tsunami in Southeast Asia in 2006, and I thought I did a good job. I actually went back and looked at it and realized actually I didn't do that good of a job, because I could have done better. And I think once you feel something that someone's feeling, it changes the way you tell the story. And I feel like you're better served as a journalist if you have a little bit more experiences in your pocket. So when you show up, you're not just, so how does that feel? Blah, 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 and then you move on. Like you have to really feel them.
I love that. I love that because there's so much discussion about journalism these days and the news business that we both grew up in. But I think coming to it, making it feel like this is my story, this is my
Yes.
this could be me,
Yes.
changes that kind of veneer of objectivity that we're all taught we should have, and puts our heart, we lead then with our heart, as opposed to, this is a story, I got to get it on the air and just report it.
Yes, and we all go to stories with like our baggage, you know,
Right.
no matter what. If you cover a sexual assault case and it has happened to you, you will cover it in a different way.
Yeah.
If you have, you know, we all do, and you try real hard to say, like, I'm going to try real hard. One of my bosses used to say to me before a story, try to disprove your premise. What's your premise? Try to disprove it right now. And when you try to do that, you see all sides of the story. So I think it's important to still kind of maintain that, but also realize on certain stories about pain and loss, there's only one side. You know, there's not two sides to someone losing their home at Hurricane Katrina. That's what happened. They lost everything. So how are you going to tell that story? Or the 5 nurses who were walking down the I-10 like with bloody feet, and they had been working for 48 hours and everybody forgot them and left them behind, and there they walked. That's one story. That's it. There's not objectivity. That's full of pain and grit. But I think on certain stories, we have to remember always, like, take your experiences and realize that's not everybody's, you know, don't cry your tears.
That's so beautifully put. Somebody just said here, Hoda, you're so authentic. And this book is so authentic. It will make you feel good. It will move you. You will find it to be a source of strength, a source of laughter. Some of the quotes are really funny. And it will move you. And I'm so proud of you. But now, wait a second. Last time, what are you going to do tonight? Last time I left you alone at night, you tried to pawn me off on Lenny Kravitz. And you
By the way, I got to tell you.
He looked so mortified.
No, he did not.
I'm an older woman for you. I'm like, oh.
No, first of all, let me just say one thing. My heart was pounding, like I told you, it pounds when I landed in New Orleans, because I was about to speak my truth. I was about to put something in the universe, and when it's not in the universe, it can't be. So I put it out there for Lenny Kravitz, and we're going to fast forward a year from this conversation.
Oh, I just want you to go back and look at the tape. Hoda was
I did.
Watch What Happens Live with Ann, and she tried to pawn me off. She goes, "Do you like older women?"
I didn't pawn you off. No, Andy
okay,
asked,
so
you like?
Then she says, "How about Maria Shriver?" And he's
Yes.
like,
No,
by the way,
I
am going to go through the
no,
floor.
by the way, that's his face always. If you noticed. He's like the cool, he's like
I'm
this.
just like, I'm now going through the
No,
floor.
because you see,
Down
Andy and I are on it. Andy
but
Cohen and I
that's
are on
okay.
it.
I know
So-
you're not talking to Lenny tonight.
But
We have
tonight,
dueling
I
debates
am.
tonight. What are you going to do?
I'm going to watch one and TiVo one because they're on at the same time.
Yes, you know that.
And yeah, the NBC town hall and the ABC town hall are on at the same time. I'm going to watch both of them, and I was thinking a lot about Savannah in the position that she's in tonight, and she's super tough and fair and straight up and honest, and I know that she's going to do really well tonight. And it's a town hall situation where it's really for the voters, like they really have an opportunity to ask, you know, the candidates. So I'm going to be watching it. I know there's a lot of controversy about them being on at the same time, so that voters are going to have to choose who to watch and what to watch. I was thinking about it through the lens of Savannah. Like if I were her and I were preparing, whether I'm on at 8 or 10 or whenever, I don't know what. That's for the big bosses at NBC to decide. My job is to, ask tough questions, fair questions, and try to get answers that people want. So I'm going to be watching both tonight. I'm going to TiVo one. I'm going to be up late. All right. But I'm probably going to watch Savannah, and then I'm going to TiVo the Biden one, and then watch that one.
So you can go from Savannah with Trump,
Yeah.
Biden, and if you're really still up late, you can go back and look at what you did to me with Lenny. So you can have I want you to go through all the men tonight, from Biden to Trump to Lenny, all tonight, and then we'll talk tomorrow. But in the meantime, I know there is a lot of controversy about the NBC thing, but I love that you put it that Savannah will be representing NBC, and she's such an incredible journalist.
Yes.
She will do a great job.
She will.
And people can get mad at the brass about the scheduling, which I agree with, but we don't want to get mad at Savannah because she's going to do her job, which she's trained to do, and she will bring her best self to that job. So,
right.
Amen to that. But in the meantime, go get the book and watch the debates with the book, or go watch what Lenny Kravitz's face with the book.
I'm going to watch it again. Okay, I'm going to
go watch it again. But everybody,
love you.
This book. I love you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you.
love her. Okay, there we go. I know some people said that there was some audio feedback on my end. I don't know what to say. It is what it is. I don't know why it is. But anyway, hopefully you heard it all. The most important thing is I hope you get the book. It's beautiful on the outside, on the inside, and the inside, and the inside. And I hope you all watch both town halls tonight. That's what I'm going to try to do, is try to watch both to educate myself, and believe that the journalists that are doing both will do a good job. And so that is, we have 3 weeks to election, and we have to remember to vote. Vote nationally and vote locally. There's a lot going on in your local races. Here in California, there's a lot of propositions. You have to go and get educated. Got my ballot. And anyway, so I want to thank you all for joining us. I want to thank Hoda. She is as wonderful as she seems. She's one of the all-time greats, and I'm so blessed. Hi, Sherry Lyons. Thank you all for joining us. Have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye.